We're back live at Sandown. Just over my shoulder, the stunning Tigani Motorsport Mercedes-AMG GT3s. They roll out. Two of them have pro drivers at the wheel. The other, that's the Superbarn Farmers Market entry in the hands of James and Theo Konduras, some amateurs, but they have a very wise man in their corner, a former Bathurst winner with David Reynolds. Luke Youlden, how's the weekend been so far?
Yeah, pretty good. We say officially that I'm a driver coach, but I'm secretly hoping that they sort of break their leg and I can have the steer again, Rusty. No, but it's good to have just an experienced hand, I guess. They can just bounce things off and I can give them some ideas as well. Because, I mean, we do have obviously Jade and these boys we can reference off, but sometimes there's a few little things that we can help with, and that's my job, is, you know, trying to coach these guys as best they can.
So tell us a little bit more about that, where the build-up is in full swing now to an hour of competition. GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. You get to draw from those pros that you talked about, but you also analyse what happened yesterday and where you might find something. Did you find something out of Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, driver-wise, they're locked into their technique now. There's not much we can do about it. If you haven't done it by Sunday morning, you're sort of not going to get there. But we can manage the stints a little better. So the boys are capable of driving around in low 10s. We need to get them both doing that early in the stints. And that's what let us down a little bit yesterday. We were a little bit slow to get going. So I've given the boys a bit of a tune-up, and hopefully it works today.
I love that. I mean, you're an experienced racer in your own right, but you're great with working with people. We've seen you do that in various capacities, and they're all different in this pit lane, the way that they're wired and so on. Do you enjoy the process of that, trying to make them better, trying to get them into that victory lane?
Absolutely. I mean, these cars are so fast now, Rusty. It's very difficult for an amateur to try and get to a pro level. I mean, that's the reference, of course, but we need to try and trick our brains sometimes, and I think I can give them a few tips to try and do that. And it's challenging to say, you know, brake later or do this, but, you know, your brains is telling you, no, I can't do it. So we need to try and trick our brains into doing that sometimes. So it could be as simple as, yeah, you need to brake later, but it might be easy to brake a little bit earlier, but lighter, or clear the brake a little bit earlier. So those little tips to try and trick those AMs into going faster is what we're trying to achieve.
Love it. Good trick too. Now, obviously this pit lane has some crack outfits. NPC, just one of them. You're with Tigani. Just tell us a little bit about that and what it's been like to work with them.
Yeah, under Nathan Tigani, you know, he's really pushing on. I mean, we've got 4 cars here, 3 cars and a fourth as a technical alliance. I think you may even see that expand towards the next round. So to have 4 or 5 AMG Mercedes is pretty impressive. And from where he started a few years ago to the outfit that the team's running now, it's very impressive to have someone like a factory AMG driver in Jaden Ojeda. That's pretty cool, and to lock that away, you have to be doing something right. So I'm glad to be part of it, glad to be involved, and Johnny on the spot. Like I said, if someone breaks their leg, I can hopefully have a steer.
Now, as you and I, we're about to chat with the rest of our broadcast team here. There are some decent clouds coming in above us here, but you're pretty confident it'll skirt us. Do you still feel that way looking at it now? Look,
I had a feeling all day yesterday that it was going to be dry, and it worked. I've got that feeling now. I don't know what it is, but you know, there's probably a reason why I moved out of Melbourne, and this is reinforcing it today.
Good on you. Lovely to catch up. Some great insights from Luke Youlden there. Let's go to Stubbsy and Thomas Randall now.
Thank you very much. We are front and centre ready to go for this race, and Tom Randall just pulling out the radar. I know we've been talking about it all day, but Thomas, there's a little bit coming again.
Yeah, potentially, yes, there is, Stubbsy. We saw the rainfall for the GT4 race, and some cars started on wets. I think in this scenario, all the cars are on slicks, so could get a little bit dicey later on. But how good is being on the grid here? We've got the fans joining in the grid for us behind us very shortly. The free public access. We've got some supercar stars behind us. Ryan Wood, Brock Feeney, Jackson Evans, who's going to be lining up position number 3, and I'm sure we're in for a real cracking one.
You touched on the access. I mean, how good is this? Look at the lineup behind us on the hill of everyone waiting to get out here on this grid. And why not? Can you imagine if you're an NRL or an AFL fan that you can walk out and touch the footy, touch a player, get a selfie with someone like Thomas Randall right before a match starts? That's what you can do here this weekend. You've got a Ferrari, you've got an Audi, there's an Aston Martin back there. It is awesome access. So, Tom, let's go for a little bit of a walk and talk. I can see Ryan Wood, and I can also see Brock Feeney here behind us. So, you mentioned supercar stars. You don't really get any bigger than yourself and a guy by the name of Brock Feeney. Brock's just getting himself suited and booted and ready to go. Look how smart this guy is. The Pirelli patch goes on. He saw us coming and he knew what he had to do. Brock, everyone's been talking about the weather. Yep. The radar, have you had a look? What are you expecting? And the action we've seen today has been wild.
Yeah, no, I haven't. Every time I look at the radar, it's been lying to me all weekend. So I'm just looking at the skies at the moment. It's getting pretty dark around here. So, look, I hope we actually do get a bit of rain. I think it'd be pretty exciting. So let's see what we can get. Watch your back here.
Just moving to the side here, we've got one more car still to come, Tom.
Sorry, Stubbs. So yesterday's race, Brock, really had the battle on there at the end between yourself and Jackson Evans. Couldn't quite get it done. You're back in P6 for this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're starting the race. What's the feeling with the car in race mode? It seemed like it was a lot stronger in race mode compared to qualifying.
Yeah, we really struggled in quali with the red flag. We sort of got caught out a bit and just really struggled for tyre temp. But it was good to feel racy in the race. I mean, me, Woody and Jackson were having a good old dice there at the end, which was a lot of fun. So, look, hopefully I can get a couple spots up here today. A few of the guys were racing have got that success penalty a bit more than us. So I'll hand it over to Brad, hopefully in a good spot, and he can work his magic.
Now, what's it like trying to start one of these cars on a cold Pirelli tyre? There's not exactly that much ambient temperature out here or track temperature. You had the luxury of having your co-drivers start yesterday. So what's it going to be like with a really cold car?
Yeah, super tough. It's about 6-7 laps to get your tyres up to temp. So the start here is going to be pretty interesting. Look, it looked pretty challenging yesterday, but look, as long as we can all get through clean, as we're speaking of it, it's starting to spit. So let's see what the weather does first.
Yeah, well, all the best out there. We'll be tuning in. I'm sure you'll be putting on the action for us.
Yep.
Stubbsy, what are you thinking?
We're going to go for a little wander because I've spotted Jamie Day over the back here. We are lambs to the slaughter because all the fans have now been released onto the grid. So we're going to work our way through here. We'll get the elbows out like we do when we're in a race car. I want to head on over because Jamie Day is here. Jamie, it's been great seeing you back here in Australia. We caught up with you yesterday. The Aston Martin, it was a bit of a tough outing out there, wasn't it, for you?
Yeah, it wasn't the easiest ride. Obviously, we had a mega pit stop, actually inherited the lead, but unfortunately just a few mistakes on my behalf and a little bit of a lack of a pace. But today, I know we've got something a little bit more. The boys worked hard last night staying here just to find that little bit that we were missing, and hopefully today it pays off.
Thanks for your time. Good luck out there.
Thank you very much.
Rusty?
Stubbsy, thank you. If you didn't catch our coverage yesterday, we had a fantastic sit-down kind of profile chat with Renee Gracie, and I know you've got your eyes on that class swim, but gee, the battle in this class was pretty full on yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think us AMs at the back sometimes get forgotten about, but I'm glad we're proving to everybody that there's just as much fun in the AM category as there is in the Pro-Am.
Right, give us a little bit of feedback on Saturday, what you take out of it. I mean, the sprinkles of rain here at the moment. What do you think's going to unfold today?
Welcome to Sandown, I think is the most common thing we say in this sort of weather. But yeah, tough start to the weekend, I won't lie. Saturday wasn't great qualifying wise, hence why I'm sort of where I am. But I've proved to myself time and time again that I can race all right, so I'm hopeful I can claw my way back.
We know that there are other combos, literal combos, there'll be driver changes, but you do this solo, right? How taxing is that? How joyous is that? And so on.
Well, I do a two-man job, so I'm quite proud. No, it's just really good. It is tough. I've worked on my fitness, obviously, over the course of the year, and now it's kind of easy. I feel like the hour could go longer. I wish that it was easier sometimes.
I hope you have a good Sunday afternoon.
Thank you.
There's Renee Gracie. We're going to grab a commercial break in our coverage. When we return, a tribute to a much-loved person here in the paddock. Back in a moment.
SRO is the architect of modern GT racing. It runs international events all over the world, and nothing beats the world's biggest international GT race, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. The event is a crown jewel in SRO's two biggest championships, GT World Challenge Era powered by AWS and the Intercontinental GT Challenge. The globe-trotting 5-event Intercontinental Series kicked off in February at our own Bathurst 12-hour in Australia before continuing with the Nürburgring 24 Hours just over a month ago. That was followed by another round-the-clock race with the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. Next up, the manufacturers and drivers have Suzuka in Japan in September. And to finish the season, we've got the Indianapolis 8-hour to look forward to. The GT World Challenge takes place across 4 continents on some of the world's most famous circuits. In Australia, we've had Phillip Island, and our 6-round series finishes up in New Zealand at Hampton Downs. Asia has some equally impressive venues. The incredible Mandalika circuit in Indonesia won lots of rave reviews just a few weeks ago. And the teams went big in Japan, where they visited the Fuji International Speedway. The last race there was an absolute thriller. In America, the season opener was at Sonoma in California, then Texas with Circuit of the Americas and Sebring in Florida. And only last weekend, the US Tour visited VIR. Europe gets lots of famous name tracks too, with classic Grand Prix circuits like Brands Hatch, along with current ones like Barcelona, Spa and Zandvoort. Europe also has sprint and endurance races and its own share of famous names behind the wheel, including the legendary Valentino Rossi, who took victory in race 1 at Misano in Italy just last weekend. Race 2 was equally as memorable for the incidents that took place. The Lamborghini being pushed into a spin and catching fire, and a flying tyre launched in pit lane. All concerned walked away. The McLaren pairing of Marvin Kirchhofer and Benjamin Goethe won by half a second. At the same time, on the west side of the globe, the heaven on earth track of VIR, Virginia International Raceway, hosted 2 barnstorming races for GT World Challenge America, with victory going to Porsche and the RS1 team combo of Jan Halen and Alex Sedgwick in both 90-minute races. Each of the results from these Continental Series count towards the Global GT World Challenge, a championship for 10 GT3 manufacturers competing in Asia, Europe, America, and here in Australia. And we're only halfway through the season.
The motorsport community is pretty tight, but every once in a while someone comes along that has a big impact on us all. Tim Miles was that, a proud Kiwi who made a home in Australia, a great mate A family man, someone who made everyone in this pit lane feel incredibly special when he spoke to them. He had this real zest for life, didn't he?
Didn't he just? If motorsport's the party, Rusty, Milesy was the life of it and such a valuable contributor to the paddock, but in ways people didn't know as well. Jackson Evans, Matt Campbell, and more recently, Brendan Leech, who drove that Audi behind us, drew so much from his involvement in the sport.
So we are really missing his laugh, that cheeky grin here this weekend, and we just wanted to pause here with the Speed Series and remember, pay tribute to a bloke who made a hell of a mark.
I don't know anyone else in this paddock or in business who had such an influence in so many levels, certainly socially, but professionally, behind the scenes, the help that he gave a lot of the businessmen in the paddock, but also some of the young drivers, Hunter, Jackson Evans, Matty Campbell in the early days, and then all the other young drivers, including Brendan, who he's given invaluable mentoring advice to. So just an amazing loss.
A cyclist who died after being hit by a bus outside Sydney's Taronga Zoo is being remembered as a loving father of two and motor racing entrepreneur.
Yeah, it was a shock. It was still one of the hardest things that I've heard, at least in recent memory. So it's been a tough couple of weeks, but you know, just trying to make him proud and continue doing what we're doing.
Did you dig a little deeper? What'd you do?
Yeah, look, I felt pretty good out of the box and managed to get to the lead, and then really dug deep, thought of Timmy, and just super happy to fend off and win the race.
Well done. I know this is for Arise Racing. I know it's for Elliot too and for you, mate, but for someone special. Well done.
Cheers, thank you.
The bloke didn't have a bad bone in his body. You know, he was certainly capable of some bad taste and in a humorous fashion, but he loved life. He loved everything he did in work and socially with his family and in racing. So yeah, he just loved life. You can't really say that about a lot of people.
We met Tim Miles back in about 2016 when he was driving an Audi R8 with Macarey Racing. That was his first taste of GT3 racing, I guess, and from there, I guess that whet his appetite to do some more. We had a great year in 2024, pretty good season. I think the first round at Phillip Island was one of the first rounds that those guys won a race. I think the second race on the Sunday, Tim held off Brad Tumac for the win.
Miles's commitment down there has been absolute. He just leaves Harper Carwick there at the Southern Loop as if to... Oh, he's gone! Schumacher's gone!
But I was able to hold him back. I think it's 14 laps or so. And it's probably the most fun I've had with my clothes on. It was fantastic.
There's particular people in life that just grab you in a way that not other people do, and that's Tim Miles. There's just, the guy's just one in a billion or a trillion. You don't find people like Tim every day, and I'm just blessed to have been able to spend time with Tim and call him a good mate. Tim was a larger-than-life character. He was someone that gave me a lot of opportunities, a lot of unfiltered advice, and sort of showed me the ropes through a lot of things, not only in my racing career, but in personal growth. So, many opportunities that I'm going to be forever thankful for, and continue to take with me throughout the rest of my career and my personal life. Most of all, he was a husband and a father, and a best mate of my father, and a couple other people close to me. So, really special person in my life, and deeply miss him already. I wish I could just go back sometimes, as selfish as this sounds, and just squeeze a little bit more juice out of Tim Miles, because you just don't know what you don't have until it's not there anymore. And I can only just imagine how Tim's family and closest friends feel when somebody like me that I guess known Tim for a handful of years and hung out with him for 8 or so times a year feels in that comparison. Yeah, he was a tremendous person.
As far as my best memory of Tim goes, there's probably more that I can't say than I can say. We went to France and Tim competed in the Mustang Challenge at the Le Mans 24 Hour. He was driving a car with a tribute livery of my dad, who passed earlier this year, number 47, and I was the last one to strap him into a race car with my dad's livery, so that was very special.
It's going to be really hard being around the GT paddock without Tim around. I guess never going to get over the fact that he's not around, because somebody like that just rubs off on you in a way that's just hard to shake.
I know it's going to leave a void this weekend here in our truck and our garage.
I think to remember Timmy moving forward is, to go out and always give 100% on the track. He was never afraid of having a good time, and he was always one to get the nose in there, have a good race with people, but then as soon as the racing was over, he'd enjoy a beer and a laugh with all his competitors.
Yeah, we just want people to remember him for who he was, larger than life character, loved everything he did, and we just need to go and make him proud now.
Some beautiful reflections there from people that knew him well, including his great mate of 50 years. They knew each other from when they were 3 or 4 years old in Andy McElroy. We are joined by Brendan Leech now, who I think will probably tell you that maybe 18 months ago, what was on the table career-wise for you may not have looked as big as what it became last year. And that is because you sat down with Tim and collectively the pair of you worked hard to open doors, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't for Tim, I definitely wouldn't be at this point in my career. He gave me an opportunity to move over here and compete against the best drivers on the side of the planet. And it's hard to talk about it, but yeah, it's going to miss him for sure. And he's been such an important part to so many people. And
you got this, mate. You got this.
Really going to miss him a lot. And I think many of us on the grid here have got so much to thank Tim for, and our career's going to be pushed forward by Tim the whole way, I'm sure.
Brendan, I think he's playing with us today because this is some high-quality South Island weather he's got going on here. Tim could be at the same time almost the most effervescent life of the party person in the room, and then at the same time serious, razor-sharp, intelligent and thoughtful person as well. What was that like when you do a debrief in the truck after a race or after a qualifying session? What was that balance like of the Milesy character and both sides of it?
He was so witty, but very methodical, and the way he thought about things, and actually multiple times he taught me stuff out there where I was like, fair play, and I'd go change something and improve as well, and then he'd proceed to take the piss out of me for not getting it all out before. So it was always fun, never a dull day, and every day, even the ones where we didn't finish were just so much fun, and yeah, for sure that's something that I'll cherish forever.
Can we spend a little moment and just acknowledge Hayden Smith, Gavin McClinchy, Michael Scott, the engineer, on your car. It was an all-Kiwi crew with an all-Kiwi sponsor. MPC sort of embraced that. And for you to be a part of all that, what that mean?
So much, after being overseas for so long and with a big variety of people and from all walks of the world, to come back and have a full Kiwi squad was just, you just felt the power and that held, meant a lot. And Tim was the driving force behind it all.
And speaking of driving, he was driving bloody well, wasn't he? And we saw highlights of that race at Phillip Island last year with he and his mate Brad Schumacher coming up. You were watching from pit wall. I mean, he'd reached such a high level in his driving. He was one of the best AM drivers on the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. When I turned up at the first round and we hit the ground running like that with that drive, I was like, holy shit, we're on here. We might be in the fight for the championship. And it was not what was expected up against Chaz, who was in the Ferrari with Liam. And we were second in the championship, I think, after round one, which was a massive shock. And we didn't get the result we wanted to in the end, but we had a shitload of fun the whole way through.
All right, the car is just beyond us here. We are going to do a special guard of honour with all of the cars, as you can see behind us here. Can we get you to go to the car and do a lap for us of Sandown, and appropriately we'll get the fans and the competitors here to make a minute of noise. That's why, and more really, to celebrate the great life of Tim Miles.
Go strap yourself in.
There you go.
There's Brendan Leech. Multiple winner in GT World Challenge, and such a great combination. And we think, of course, of the sponsor on that car, Deb Day and Dale ITM, who are massive supporters of both Tim and the Leech family from down south in Invercargill. So, remarkable story. We've touched a lot on Milesy this weekend, Rusty, but he was the life of the party, wasn't he? Both on the racetrack and off it. You never left that garage from a conversation with Tim going, I didn't get something out of that, whether it was a witty remark or some genuine insight or even some business advice on occasion.
Well, I mean, through his business, Miles Advisory Partners, they were in mergers and acquisitions. They did a lot of business here in Pit Lane. Many people watching the coverage today will remember the headlines around helping to orchestrate the sale of supercars on more than one occasion.
Twice.
They did an incredible job with that twice, exactly. But he wasn't a headline chaser. He was a great character. I think, as Paul Morris reflected very recently, this has hit our sport hard because he was so well connected, so well involved with so many people in all sorts of areas. I mean, he did a motor racing OE when he first left high school in 1988. He went to the UK. He worked his way up to sort of team manager roles. He retained great friendships with the likes of Trevor Carlin and more that came here for the service recently. We should also, we reflected on MPC. The MPC crew are there at the moment, getting Melbourne Performance Centre, helping Brendan Leech to get strapped in for this very special lap. We should also say that for quite some time in his amateur racing career, when business and life enabled him to enjoy that, again, he was a proper part of the McElrea Racing family, and not just Andy, who we heard from in that package before there. Can we make mention of Lee Geyer, Timmy McCumsty, and Damo Van Twest as well? I mean, he was really tight with those guys.
Yeah, and as was touched on in the package you saw before this moment, Hunter McElrea was supported by him. Yesterday was an emotional day here, Rusty, with Jackson Evans winning that race, and Jackson used to call him Uncle Tim at times, and they were very close, and Tim and Jackson's dad Johnny were very close mates growing up in the South Island as well. So it's touched everybody in our sport as the V10 Audi R8 fires up. Troy Russell from the Melbourne Performance Centre and Audi Custom Sport Racing Australia is going to wave the flag, and Brendan Leech will take off for a lap of noise. It is the most appropriate tribute that I could think of as we send our thoughts to Tracy, to Kaylee and Erin, who will be watching back at home in Sydney. This is a special moment, and if you're here at Sandown or watching on the couch, this is for Tim Miles.
sounds of Brendan Leech doing some donuts and making some noise around Sandown here. I don't reckon there's a dry eye in the house, and that has nothing to do with the rain, the shower that we have here at the moment. This is a rare thing, Crailsy, in motorsport, to see a guard of honour. This lineup of rivals, competitors, friends, so widespread was the impact, the reach that Tim had in our community. So Brendan is now making his way down in the Dale ITM Audi. He will come down between all of the cars that are gathered here to go racing this afternoon as we pay tribute to Tim Miles one final time. You mentioned business there before, to a little note, a little shout out to the former Bathurst winner in Paul Dumbrell. They did lots of business together over the years. I know he'll be watching today too, and there was almost like a father-son relationship between those two guys.
Rusty, Tim famously told Tracy that it only cost a set of tyres to go racing. Well, Trace, don't worry. You don't have to pay for the ones that Brendan's just burned off the Audi. And a beautiful sight, a massive round of applause from the Australian motorsport community for Tim Miles as Brendan Leech brings the Audi to the very front of the GT World Challenge Australia grid for the final time.
There's Gavin McClinchy in the background with Tim's helmet. Fitting applause. And the one thing he would have wanted us to do, Crailsy, at this time is to go racing.
100% right, and I think we've got a great race coming up this afternoon. He would be loving it. He'd be loving the weather, the peril, the challenge, and everything that's still to come. Congratulations to everybody that's put on this tribute to one of our great loved members of the Australian motorsport community, and to the fans here at Sandown especially, and those watching on the screens of 7 and also on GT World around the world. A global influence Tim had on our sport, and there are 1,000 people, Rusty, at his, I was going to say funeral, but it was a celebration last week, and they came from all corners of the globe to celebrate a great man.
And he was great glue in what I kind of affectionately call a Kiwi racing mafia. Andy McElroy we've heard from today. Greg Murphy was quite emotional in that address at the service. Johnny Evans, his great high school mate, Jackson Evans' father. Craig Baird, who was here with us this weekend in Motorsport Australia Race Control, and much more than that. Shane Drake, who I know will be watching in New Zealand today. He was a proud Kiwi. He made Australia home, and as you can see from the reaction here today, what a life! What an impact he's had.
And I think now it's appropriate to celebrate, Rusty, what he delivered to us. And he loved the show. He loved the entertainment element. He loved the people as well, probably more than anything else. The driving challenge, yes, but the people involved in this game. And he loved the conversation. And he would have loved the conversations that have happened over the last 2 weeks. Just about his life and his career, and some of the tall tales that have been told, some of which he started back in the day as well.
Tall tales that would have been told over a bit of an amber lemonade in the debrief afterwards. So we say goodbye to a mate, but to a mate who will always be remembered in this paddock and right around Australian and New Zealand motorsport. We need a commercial break here. When we come back, we'll do what Tim would have wanted, and that's to go racing. We're at pit exit here. We can see the BMW safety car, I think, at the front of the field there. Not too long before we let the cars go. Racing. Welcome to our viewers on 7 Mate this afternoon now as well. Those on 7 Plus who've been with us this morning, and especially to those right around the world on our YouTube channel. Can you believe it? We have had a decent amount of rain in the lead up, and the sun has just decided, Charlie, to come on out.
It certainly is. Good afternoon, Rusty. It is go time, and we have a rainbow to start us off with the GT World Challenge. Australia, powered by AWS. We've been talking about precipitation, and it has arrived.
Yep. All right, we've got an hour of competition to come your way. Today, though, we do it a little bit differently, and that is that the pro drivers will start this race. Yesterday, they brought the hour of competition home, but they kick things off today, and you'll then see the amateur drivers jump in for the final stint home. So a little bit of gamesmanship around how they'll use it too. There is a window with which we conduct the pit stops, and a bit to play out.
There certainly is. There's massive storylines, of course. Jackson Evans and Elliot Shute, they had a great day yesterday, and now it is about going one more again, because we are at round 4. There's only 2 rounds to go, Rusty, so this is pivotal if you want to put your hand on a championship trophy.
Absolutely. 5 races left in the championship, of which this is one of them. Now, we've got commentators in the pit lane. We've got those in our commentary booth to bring you all of the action as well. We'll be talking to the drivers during the other side of the pit stops, if you will. But in the meantime, here's Chris Stubbs.
Thank you. Joined by Thomas Randall, and we're just here working on our tan with the sun coming out and shining. What a beautiful place. But the smart ones are behind us in the stands. Look at that, jam-packed, and they've got a great vantage point for this race. It's about to get underway. A slight delay though, Thomas, coming, and fair enough too, because we've just been on the grid there and it is very wet.
It is indeed. It's been raining for the last 15 minutes, and like you said, all the spectators that have come out this afternoon, they're in the right spot with the cover above them, but 15 minutes delay just to, I guess, get some hopefully wet tyres on these GT3 machineries. The last thing you'd want as a driver starting this race is a cold, slick tyre in these conditions.
And nobody wins in that circumstance, is it? We have to go with safety first, and when you've got cars with this sort of power underneath them on a track like this, no one was going to win there, were they?
Definitely not. I mean, every car is on slick tyres at the moment, because when they rolled to the grid, it was dry. There wasn't any rain, and then the rain came for, like I said, the last 15 minutes, and you can see behind us all the teams and the crew bringing the wet tyres to the grid. They will be cold, wet tyres. However, it's going to be a hell of a lot better than being out there on slick tyres. So we've got Jordan Love will be starting from pole position, and then we've got Jaden Ojeda alongside him, then Jackson Evans, Lee Holdsworth on his debut in the series. The last time he was in that car, in the Hallmark car, was actually at the Bathurst 12 Hour this year. So great to see him and Mark Seeney back. And that was an incredible effort in qualifying. He's lining up in position number 4. Then we've got a couple of supercar drivers in Ryan Wood and Brock Feeney, the Supercars Championship leaders, 5th and 6th. Jamie Day, his debut here in Australia alongside Liam Talbot. It's going to be an interesting run down to turn 1, and the rain has stopped, so everyone's going to go to wet tyres, but I think they're going to have to go back to slick tyres.
That's the thing, because the radar is suggesting that was the only bit of rain around, and a rainbow is just coming overhead at the moment, so that's quite fitting, isn't it, given the tribute that we've just seen to Tim Miles. So the black tyres going past, the stickers on them, they're not roaded, so they will be slippery as they start off. But let's get to Greg Russ with more.
Chris, thank you. I'll just track down Liam Talbot. Last year he would have been with colleagues next door here at Arise Racing. This season he's in an Aston Martin. This is a bit unpredictable, all of this right now, isn't it?
Yeah, just saying to the team, it didn't look like it was going to rain. It was sunshine, and then all of a sudden it was going to rain and rain and rain. Didn't look like sunshine. Now the sunshine's out. There's a rainbow. It's a crazy day, but obviously thinking of Tim's family and in friends, and yeah, it's very sad not having Tim here.
Most definitely. Hey, well said. For you, coming out of yesterday, birthday weekend for you, but I know Saturday didn't quite go to plan, did it?
That's motorsport. Sometimes you can have the fastest car, or arguably probably not the fastest car. The tow with the Audi made us probably look a bit more flattering in the straight line. So, yeah, we were pretty handicapped in a straight line. So I think if we were in front of the Audi, it would have been the same. We would have been strong in the corners, and we would have got mowed down in the fast horsepower straights. So first world problem, but see what we can do today.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was my next question coming out of Saturday. Do you feel like you have a little something to bring to the table here this afternoon?
I was hoping for rain, so we got that. But yeah, probably a bit more rain would be nice. Yeah, we've tried to do a few things, but you never know. It's motorsport, but the harder the fight, the harder you fight back, and we're ready.
Give it heaps in that fight.
Thank you. Hi Kenzie. Hi Thiefy.
Well done, mate. Nice. Let's go to Crailsy now.
Thank you. With the double champion, Liam Talbot, Greg Russ, thanks for that as the teams frantically work on the grid to put wet weather tyres on. So there is a provision in the regulations to allow for this in the event of some last-minute conditional changes, so they can throw wet weather tyres. The Pirellis will go on those cars and we'll get going. We had one race yesterday and it was run in challenging conditions, though it was dry, and it was an absolute beauty as well. The AM drivers started, and on the outside, Brad Schumacher ran wide at turn 1. He was later penalised 5 seconds for that. Elliott Shute and that man Liam Talbot got into each other through turn 3 and into turn 4. Feisty exchange between them. This was Mark Rosser bunkering in the gravel trap down at Dandenong Road. That brought out the BMW M safety car and set up the race towards the pit stops. Talbot was aggressive and nudged the back of Schumacher's Audi into the final complex. The pit stops started. 5 seconds served for Schumacher as Brock Feeney took the wheel. Charging through the field was Jackson Evans. He got down the inside of George King and the guy of Almont Racing, and then he set out on Jamie Day. That was quick and easy work on the Aston Martin, and the Ferrari hustled its way to the race lead. This was cool. Ryan Wood using every little inch of Sandown Raceway, squeezing down the inside and grabbing P2 away. Huge moment. Jamie Day, the young Brit, firing it off the curb and into the undergrowth and the shrubbery down at turn 1, and he would not be seen for the remainder of the race. The checkered flag flew on an emotional day. Jackson Evans won for the 3rd time this season for Arise Racing, but it was an absolute beauty. We're building up towards race 2 in GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Racing action coming your way next.
Welcome to the home of horsepower. So much history in this place. On paper, Sandown looks really simple. 2 long straights with a sequence of corners, but getting it right, Thomas Randall, is a bit of an art.
It is. It's such a challenge here at Sandown, and a couple of things we notice at the moment, just walking down the straight at turn 1. Tailwind. Got to keep an eye on that as a driver. It's so bumpy here as well because the track is quite old. Just looking at the surface, it's like a patchwork quilt. So a few things to keep an eye on, and I don't think it'll be this dry later on in the weekend.
Just looking back through one, I think you said you only want to just kiss the curb if you use it at all, but then look at the height of this thing.
Massive, and there's a big drop off as well with the track out of turn 1. This is such a huge curb. You can't be taking too much here, especially in a GT car, but then the run down to turn 2 is so short, you've got to be really proactive as a driver to get the car all the way back to the left-hand side, and if it rains, there's going to be a river that'll just be flowing constantly at the exit of this curb.
This is a bit of an action zone, and then the all-important run onto the back straight. Getting drive onto the back straight sounds like a really simple mission. How critical is that?
I mean, it's super critical here because these 2 straights that we have are where you can make time or lose time, and as a driver, really easy to overshoot this corner at turn 4. You really want to ride the berm that you'll see on the exit curb. Don't take too much, don't get too greedy, you'll get too much wheel spin on the concrete. If it rains, you'll see drivers using different lines there because there is a surface change here halfway through the braking zone into turn 4. Imagine if you get your arm and you just try and draw a straight line. So you want to brake as straight as you can so you don't lock an inside front tyre. Your apex point is around about this curb where you're standing, and right there, what do you see? Surface change.
Surface change.
Yep.
But also, you know, quite prominent, a relatively new piece of concrete here on the inside of the curve.
If you can take it, you want to get all of it except your outside tyres, and that's just going to help, you know, remove a couple extra metres of the lap and a quicker lap time.
And if Thomas and I are in the heat of battle and something goes severely wrong, that's where we're going to end up, right there in the sand trap.
And you're going to need a tractor to get you out.
Final complex of corners, that right and then this left, and I won't use the word that Thomas used before. This is not a kind corner, is it?
No, it's not. And this is so important, this corner, because this sets up the lap. So you really want to get this, we call it a chicane really, because it happens so quick, this right-left section. And some cars will be taking a lot of that right-hand curve, flying heaps of speed, and it's a short run between here and the left-hander. You can squirt a little bit of throttle in between, keep some speed up, little brake, get the nose in, try and avoid this curb, and then open the car up, run it right out. You can actually get out on the concrete that's beyond that ripple strip on the exit, and then try and get the power down nicely, square it up, square it off, and that's a lap of Sandown Raceway.
My limited grade that I can't cope with that, but I hope you've learnt something. I certainly have. That is a lap of Sandown.
The home of horsepower. What a great look around this iconic circuit. Looks a little bit different today though, doesn't it, Thomas? Alongside me we've got some slick tyres over here. Now Thomas, we're going to get a little bit technical with you, my friend. Flat, smooth, shiny, fast. This though, on the Merc here at the moment, is a wet tyre. Tell us the grooves, the cuts, what it means and how it affects performance.
So a slick tyre, once it's up to temperature, being completely smooth, when it's a dry track, that really grips to the stones of the surface of the track. However, when it's wet and it's raining, you want to try and disperse all of that water as quickly as possible. So what you can see here, we've got all these grooves in the tyres and it's essentially on blocks, so a bit softer than a dry tyre. And this allows the water to be removed at quite a fast rate. Whereas if you're on a slick, what happens is the water gets trapped underneath and you can effectively aquaplane, so you lose all that time. Now what's interesting here, Stubbsy, is that no one here has been on a wet tyre yet, so this is going to be on for everyone. Everyone's changed to wet tyres on the grid. No one's been able to do any sort of wet setup, and everyone's really going to be a pioneer when this race begins.
Tom, thank you. We'll head around and we'll grab Jaden Ojeda. So he's on the front row alongside the Ferrari of our championship leaders, and we'll duck in and have a quick chat. So Tom has just given us the rundown on the difference between a slick tyre and a wet tyre. You've got the wets on. It's still going to be wild, right, Jaden?
Yeah, I'm wishing that maybe the AM started today's race because I don't really want to be behind the wheel right now. But no, it'll be fun. It'll be a crazy start and I think a crazy race, which is what we expect here in Sandown, really.
Jaden, thanks for your time and good luck.
Thanks, boys.
Rusty?
I'm just in the Arise Racing bunker with Adam DeBore, who's very kindly given us a minute of his time. Hey, I know you've been looking at the radar. Is this going to clear? Do you think we'll get more? What are your thoughts?
There's another band of rain coming, which looks to be about 30 minutes, 40 minutes away. So it could come in just as the bronze drivers are jumping in or on their stint. So I think it's going to be a case of trying to make these wets live, because you don't want to be on the wrong tyre or the wrong track.
So in these moments where we have a little reset, like we're all sort of wound up, we're good to go, then we get a little 15-minute reset, what sort of things do you go through with the team? I know Steve White's just been over here a moment ago and so on.
Yeah, so at the moment what we're trying to do is just make sure we don't make any mistakes. That's the first port of call, is just make sure that we follow the rules, we adhere to everything, because it's very easy to make mistakes when you don't plan for situations like this. And now it's just a case of following our procedures. We know what we need to do with the car. The pros are in the car. The car will be set correctly for these conditions. They'll then do their stint, and obviously when Steve and Elliot jump in, the car should be good to go.
Thanks for talking to us at a busy time. There he is, Adam DeBore, a very experienced engineer, and we're grateful that we could get into the Arise Racing area here. Let's see what a lap of Sandown is like now at speed. Enjoy.
Hi, my name's Jamie Day and this is a lap around Sandown Raceway. So here we go, beginning the start of the lap. A few adjustments on the dials just before I start the lap, but main focus point here is just looking at the braking references into T1 just before the 100, then turning in off the brake, early back on the power using the little curb to ride it. Then coming into the tight chicane, trying to avoid the curbs as much as possible, and then trying to focus for the exit onto the straight. A little bit of a moment on the braking there, but the main focus again is just to get a good exit onto the straight. Now not too much happening, just flat out changing through the gears, just focusing again on that braking point into the left. Again, just a short little brake over the curb and try to carry as much speed over the two curbs as possible to be straight for the braking here. Over the curb, bit of a moment on the exit, bit trigger happy, but again focusing down into the last two corners and into here, trying to get over the curb. Again, tight last corner and focusing again for the run to set up another lap. Thanks for watching.
Jamie Day, the young Brit driving for Valente Rosso. He's an Aston Martin, I should say, factory driver, been sent down under to perform this weekend with the double champion Liam Talbot. Had a little moment yesterday, dropped the car off the back of the curb in greasy conditions and ended up in the undergrowth, but we'll be looking to redeem perhaps today in conditions that will be well suited to a Brit driving in this part of the world. The grid has been cleared, great crowd in the house taking full advantage of Sandown's excellent fully covered grandstand on a wet Sandown International Motor Raceway. And some of the best drivers in the land will go at it. The pros start the Sunday race in GT World Challenge Australia, and that means Jordan Love, international GT ace and a almost champion in Carrera Cup racing, will start the 77 car, the Ferrari, alongside Jaden Ojeda, young bloke with a huge future potentially in the Supercars Championship. Speaking of Supercars, behind them Jackson Evans, full-time Supercars racer, Lee Holdsworth, Bathurst champion, and then how about the next row, Ryan Wood, one of the breakout stars of the Supercars this year, and the guy currently leading it, Brock Feeney, will start the 888 Audi that he shares with Brad Schumacher. It is a stacked grid of talent, and Ferrari, Mercedes AMG and Audi all feature in the top three positions as they get set for a formation lap on wet weather Pirelli tyres. Thomas Randall has worked his way up. There'll be two formation laps just to get them up to speed on this. A big burnout from Lee Holdsworth. Thomas, Sandown famous for having about 3 million surface changes. So as a driver, how do you get your head around this and the ever-changing grip levels at this racetrack?
Yeah, thanks, Crailsy. I was just going to add not only 3 million surface changes, but 3 million weather changes as well, because we've seen dry conditions, wet conditions, as we've got a car stopped in the background. That's a KFC car. I think it's got up and running there. But it's very hard to navigate in these conditions, especially for these guys at the moment, because It's ironic to say that the GT3 cars so far this weekend haven't actually done any wet weather running. So this is the first time that they're on the Pirelli wet tyre around Sandown. All through practice, qualifying, the race yesterday, it's all been dry for these guys. So I think all the AM drivers would be happy that the pros are starting this one because it's cold tyres. We saw that they all did the tyre question because they may have to go change to a slick tyre if things dry up because you wouldn't want to be on a wet tyre for too long.
Let's check the grid. The Pro-Am Cup pole goes the way of Darren Curry and Grant Donaldson in the 111 Racing Mercedes AMG. The trophy car was the one that stalled on the grid. The Triple Australian Drivers Champion Paul Stokel and Matty Stupas sharing the KFC Audi. And then an awesome job in qualifying by Jordan Love for Arise Racing. Plonked the number 77 Ferrari with the big Skippy on the side. He shares that with Steve Wyatt on the front row of the grid. So Jaden Ojeda on the outside of the front row. Best qualifying performance of the year for the Realtor car. Yesterday's winner looking for a rare double. Very difficult to go back-to-back in the same weekend in GT racing. Lee Holdsworth starts the Audi. Ryan Wood was amazing yesterday. Box office stuff, so too Brock Feeney. Jamie Day, watch for the Brit to charge forward in the Aston, and then it will be George King, another international interloper in the field with Sergio Perez, Paul Stokel, Darren Curry, Ben Schutz, Theo Konduras, the Canberran, sharing with his brother in the AM class. Ben Schutz and Shane Woodman won that class yesterday. Renee Gracie is the championship leader. Shocking day yesterday for Team BRM. The ACM Finance Audi started at the back for both races. Yesterday, they ended up bunkered in the gravel trap. Today, they've got an opportunity to work their way forward, potentially to a podium if all goes well. And young Tasmanian Alex Peroni, who forged an international career first in Europe and then in the United States, has come back to race GT cars here, and he is pretty speedy. He'll be a good pair of hands before he hands over to Mark Rosser for the second half of the race. Mandatory pit stops between the 25 and 35 minute mark of the 1 hour timed race. The pros start today. The AM drivers will jump in the back end for the sprint to the finish. Yesterday, the race was won by Arise Racing. Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute held off just a fast finishing Ryan Woods and Steve Brooks. Woody was behind the wheel of the Wolfbrook Racing Audi in an awesome charge to the line in a 3-car battle that also included Brock Feeney. Championship-wise, well, car 26 Arise Racing leads. They've got a 34-point margin over Feeney and Schumacher. It means they could zero score today and they'd still head to the Bend in September, leading the GT World Challenge Australia Championship. Third in points, Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucchini, which means Ferrari, Audi and Mercedes AMG hold the top 3 places in the championship. In the AM class, Renee Gracie has a 55-point lead over James and Theo Konduras in their Mercedes. So the scene is set. Challenging conditions at a challenging racetrack. Yesterday was the stuff you long for in motorsport. 3 great drivers carving each other up at maximum speed at the end of a GT Enduro. And I've got no doubt we're going to see more of the same today.
Absolutely. That was such an emotional victory, wasn't it, for Jackson Evans? And holding off Ryan Wood, a very fast Ryan Wood, and Feeney not too far behind. This is going to be a thrilling race, a thrilling opening account because opening couple of laps because of the conditions. I'm just so excited to see what happens in the run down to turn 1, Crazy.
Currently 11 degrees here in the Springvale region of Melbourne. The feels-like temperature says it's 7.6. Don't believe that for a second. Track temperature just 14 degrees. So when the track temp's not much warmer than the ambient, you know you're in trouble. And as we heard from Adam DeBore with Greg Rust, the Guru engineer down at Arise Racing, and they're expecting another band of weather across in 30 to 35 minutes. They won't worry about that now. This is all about the pro drivers getting themselves into a position before the stop. Jordan Love in that dark Maranello red Ferrari 296 GT3. The big Mercedes, which should be a very good car in wet weather conditions. Jaden Ojeda on the outside of the front row, and then Jackson Evans, the fast Kiwi from the South Island, who won yesterday, will lead the field to green conditions in the 8th race in this year's GT World Challenge Australia. The Mercedes AMG gets the jump. Jaden Ojeda immediately squeezes Love down towards turn 1, then opens it up to take the ideal racing line. Love's going to get through, but he'll understeer wide, and it might open the door for Ojeda to get around the outside at turn 2. Holdsworth has slid into 3rd place. Fourth place is Brock Feeney, already up a couple of spots. Ryan Wood has lost ground, and around goes the leader. Love around on the entry to turn 4. Ojeda takes point on the run up the back straight.
He just dropped it on the exit curb there, up in the run to turn 4. What a disaster for the 77. He's done all the hard work, got the thing on pole position. Lap 1, around he goes. So Brock Feeney now up into position number 3 after the first couple of corners. Ojeda, we know how strong he is in all sorts of conditions in these cars, so he leads the way and is the pioneer and takes almost a little bit too much curb there into Dandenong Road. And it's look who it is, it's Ojeda from Holdsworth. Great job so far from him. A lot of curb there from Jamie Day, and he's got a few cars in behind him. I think that's, well, Peroni's moved up a few. He's up into position number 8, or he was.
Oh, Feeney's off. Feeney runs it very wide and just gets it gathered up before dropping it through the undergrowth at the final corner, and it might open him up to attack from Jackson Evans. I was going to point out, Paul Stokel in the KFC Audi trophy class car is right up and among it in 7th position outright, doing a great stop. And Peroni, as you said, from 14th position to 8th in 1 lap of racing. He is flying up through the field.
Yeah, they've got a big point to prove, don't they? There's just been a lot of things, unfortunately, not go their way this season. As what's interesting to note, and that's Feeney run wide again at turn 3, so he's going to have to shut the door on Jackson Evans behind. But I was just going to point out, Ojeda using all of the curbs at turns 2 and 3, something you wouldn't see these cars do in the dry, but just trying a bit of a conventional go-kart style there and taking all that curb as Lee Holdsworth weaving, trying to get more temperature into those tyres. And they're going to run side by side here, Feeney and Evans. Something's got to give.
Jackson's smart enough to know that you're probably not going around the outside at turn 6 in the wet weather conditions in these cars at Sandown. Brock is struggling at the moment to bring the Kelso Electrical Audi up to speed. And in the fence and hard is Honduras, the AM class contender, second in the championship. It's Theo, brother James, will drive in the second half. Once again, that's on the run into turn 4. So after that challenging change of direction before the left-hander that brings you up, and we're going safety car straight away.
Yeah, it sounded like he slowed the engine running, so whether or not he can get that thing out of harm's way, it looks like he's had heavy contact on the inside, maybe, and then spat back to the outside. But we've got a replay here. Let's have a look. So he's just dropped it. Yep, grabbed the inside wall and spun around. It actually wasn't massive contact, but it's done a fair bit of damage to the front splitter, and I think he's just sort of stuck there in that position. So there's our race leader, Ojeda, making his way through, and this is actually probably a bit of a reprieve for Brock Feeney, if anything, because he was under immense pressure there from Evans. Ryan Wood in 5th, so he's still holding off Peroni. So Peroni is up to 6th. Oh, sorry, 7th. Jamie Day's just been reset there, sorry.
Yeah, but still solid start for the Aston Martin, and very, very impressive start for young Alex Peroni in the ACM Finance car. So he's gained some spots. So Brock Feeney was the big winner off the start, but then was struggling on the second lap of Green Flag Racing. Having said that, Paul Stokel probably the bigger winner than a lot of them, having gained some ground in the KFC Audi. Darren Curry now leads the way in the AM class over Ben Schutz. Renee Gracie in 3rd, and Honduras, the car with damage. As we're behind the control of the BMW M safety car, there is Gracie. So good start from Ojeda in that fight with Jordan Love, and this safety car is a massive reprieve for the number 77 Ferrari from Arise Racing after that spin. This is a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card for Jordan.
So here's a replay of the start. From that shot, you think it's dry, wouldn't you? And then all of a sudden, once they get up to speed, there's plenty of spray, and you've got what was Jordan Love versus Ojeda off the line, and Ojeda had quite a good run there, but Love hung on at the start, and then we'll see in a few moments that Love made that unforced error at turn 4, so costly. But what's actually saved him has been the safety car. So he's 10th outright. Everyone made it through relatively safely. Evans had probably the worst start, so he went back a few spots, just a little bit of contact between himself and Holdsworth, and he lost out to Holdsworth and Feeney. Now here we go. So this is Love down the inside, or keeping the lead, just understeered there and then just lost it, didn't even get the curb. So cold, wet tyres perhaps, Crailsy, but that's been very costly.
Ojeda, good evasive action to get through. Holdsworth was the big winner out of all of that. And then this was the moment that's brought the BMW M safety car out, was Theo Honduras, the Canberran, having the moment and impacting the fence, the Armco barrier on the inside at turn 4. Sometimes that Armco moves quite a lot when the ground is soft here at Sandown as well, so they absorb the impact. Great look back at how this race has unfolded. So Holdsworth up a couple of spots. He's sharing the Hallmark Property Group Audi R8 that Mark Sini owns. Great to have Mark back. He races in Porsche Carrera Cup racing, but a semi-regular in the GT scene. Brought the car out at the home round. Great to see Mark and wife Kerry here as the Ford Raptor response vehicle does the job to get the Superbarn Mercedes AMG out of harm's way, and Theo looks like he's going to be able to drive that car back to pit lane, so this shouldn't be too long a safety car. So while we reset and get ready to go back to racing, I think we can jump down to the lane. Here's Greg Rust.
Krause, I'm at Tagani Motorsport with James Kandouris, who's just been chatting with the team here and just watching the recovery for Theo. You've already grabbed the helmet. I think you thought this might be game over, did you?
Yeah, I think it is game over. I think it is. The front of the car looks fairly damaged, so I think it's game over. Yeah.
Just what have you been able to, from the conversations? I know that Luke Yulden's been on the radio and so on. What has Theo said? Anything?
Nah, not much. He was really aggressive at the start. I think he passed a couple of cars and most probably just trying too hard. So anyway,
hard luck.
Thank you. Tough.
Thanks, Rusty, with James Kandouris. So Jaden Ojeda leads the way. Lee Holdsworth second. Brock Feeney third behind the safety car. And we get a reset and get ready to go racing again. And more laps behind the safety car for the pro driver means less opportunity to build a margin for the pro driver when they hand over to their co-pilot for the second half of the race. So maximising the next 15 minutes or so is going to be super important for these pros behind the wheel right now.
Yeah, we're just looking at the radar as well, as like you touched on with the discussions with Adam DeBore. There definitely is more rain on the way, so that Kandouris car looking a little bit sad at the front end there. So unfortunately going to probably have to park that thing with just under 45 minutes remaining. So we're still under the control of the BMW M safety car. Ojeda leads. Holdsworth up into position number 2. This has been a great drive so far for him on his return to driving GT cars. The last time he drove that car was at the Bathurst 12 Hour. So everyone just trying to get as much tyre temp as they can in these Pirelli wet tyres, and they're going to want to make them last if there is another spout of rain here.
He's such a reliable performer every time you put him in a race car, Lee Holdsworth, isn't it? From his early days in Commodore Cup racing, where he came into the sport, and then through a really solid supercars career, and of course that incredible win at the Bathurst 1000, Walkinshaw Andretti United entry. It was a huge moment, and it was just, there wasn't a person in the paddock that wasn't happy to see Lee Holdsworth achieve success, because he's such a good egg as well, great person to have in the field, and it's nice to see him pop up for a little cameo every now and then to keep him sharp and just remind people of how competitive he actually is.
I had a chat with him on the grid actually, and there's all the damage to the front of that Mercedes. Yeah, it's a tough one. As soon as you lose that front splitter, it's game over. But I had a good chat with him, and I said, hey, remember the last time you and I were together on the starting grid here back in 2019? And it was quite a fun time. We got third in the Sandown 500 here. So
yes.
That was pretty exciting. 6 years ago. Can't believe that was 6 years ago.
Just casually sliding in the old P3 and the Sandown 500 reference there, Thomas. That's good work from you.
Well, it all just was off the back of seeing
I like
the grid there. So.
I like it.
It was, long time ago, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with Lee in that endurance campaign. He's such a great guy, and to see him get the Bathurst victory with Chaz Mostert was pretty cool as well. So we're just hearing that this will be the last lap of the BMW M safety car controlling the field, and we will be back under green in not too distant future.
So my question to you, put your team manager's hat on. Are you putting slick tyres on your car, or are you rolling the dice that the rain will come and you're going to stay on the wets?
Well, yeah, the issue you got is if you roll the dice and go to the slicks and then it rains again, then you might have to go back to the wets. So it might be best to stay on the wet tyre. It's looking very threatening.
So 42 minutes and 30 seconds to go. The pro drivers behind the wheel are going to have to drive these cars very hard for a short space of time to build some track position before the pit stops roll out in race 2 of GT World Challenge. The lights are out on the BMW M safety car. We go back to green flag conditions at the end of this lap, and Jaden Ojeda will lead Lee Holdsworth and Brock Feeney to the line. What a group of talent it is at the front of this field. Jackson Evans next, then Ryan Wood. Jamie Day, the Brit in the Aston Martin, up to 6th. Car number 1 sharing with Liam Talbot. Alex Peroni, and then Paul Stokel, King and Love rounding out the top 10. And this is a massive free kick for Jordan Love. After spinning from the lead on the opening lap, he gets himself back into contention, an opportunity to pass a few cars and hand the 77 Ferrari 296 GT3 over to Stephen Wyatt for the remainder of the race in a decent position.
Now, what can Brock Feeney do on this restart? Because he managed to have a decent race start, but then the pace just wasn't there. So whether that Audi just struggles on the colder tyre, or the colder wet tyre at least, but I'll tell you what, Lee Holdsworth, he's going to try and be all over the back of Jaden Ojeda. And if I'm Holdsworth, it's a question of where could I look at trying to put a move on Ojeda. So Ojeda a bit wide off the last corner there, and he's put the throttle down, and we're back underway. Not the greatest exit out of the final corner he would have liked, and he's got Lee Holdsworth all over him on the restart.
The Audi tucked up behind the big rear wing of the 6-litre naturally aspirated Mercedes AMG. Now pulls to the outside, and it's a braking duel at turn 1. Holdsworth is going to get down the inside. He'll get the undercut there on the exit of 1, and they'll battle down towards 2. Ojeda up for it though, covered his line, he's all good. Busy behind once again. Feeney just struggling slightly to stay with the leaders, and he's got Jackson Evans choked up behind him, and down the inside Jamie Day put a big speculator up the inside of Ryan Wood and got it done. There was a little bump and run on the exit, but the Aston Martin goes up a spot. Ryan Wood hip and shoulder down a position. The Audi back in the clutches now of Alex Peroni.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, Alex Peroni now right on the tail of Ryan Wood. That was we saw that in the radicals actually, a very similar manoeuvre, and Jamie Day got the elbows out, so trying to right the wrongs of yesterday, and he's actually showing plenty of pace in these mixed conditions. So if you just joined us, everyone changed to wet weather tyres on the grid, and we had a bit of a downpour after all the cars arrived on the track. And that's a bit of a moment there for Lee, and he's just been able to keep it on the track, but this has been a good restart for Ojeda, as it looks like Jackson Evans is going to get the switch back on Brock Feeney. Once again, Brock just really struggling at the start of these restarts, so that puts Evans up into the top 3 positions, which is actually where he qualified, so he's back to where he started the race.
1.2 seconds the margin now. That little moment from Holdsworth in the final complex has opened that lead up for Ojeda. He's out of the spray and out of the dramas. Meanwhile, Ryan Wood still battling with Alex Peroni at the battle of the Audis. Peroni just in behind there in the ACM Finance car. He's got Jordan Love in there as well, but Love has got past Paul Stokel there in the KFC Audi. Jamie Day is going quickly. This has been a really impressive drive so far from the young Brit. He's a teenager. He's a member of the Aston Martin Junior Driver Program. He made his Australian debut last year, but then raced at the Bathurst 12 Hour this year for Valente Rosso with a couple of other young guys from this part of the world, and did a really stout job. Yesterday was a really difficult race for that team, but so far they are performing extremely well. Rusty.
Krusty, little sprinkles of rain, minor. I need to say that it's minor here in the pit lane. I've just stopped in and had a word with Scott Sinclair, who is back working this weekend on the headsets, as you know, in an engineering capacity at Arise Racing. He said if we did have to stop, you know, that they are aware that we could get more rain relatively soon, but he said if we did have to stop, you would absolutely stick with the WEX right now.
Scott Sinclair's a guy who knows things about stuff, so I think he's going to be a good brain to pick when it comes to those kind of decisions. Adam DeBore down there as well. The engineering talent in this paddock is outrageously good. And Day continues to attack the back of Brock Feeney in the Audi. That's the view from above in this complex. Doesn't give you the elevation change, but it shows you how tight and technical it is. And that's where the Aston Martin squeezed up the inside of Ryan Wood a lap ago. And now he's trying to do the same to Brock Feeney. So whatever they've done to the Valente Rosso car overnight, it's certainly been tuned up. It's good in the wet weather conditions. putting its power down well, maybe wound a little bit more downforce into it too, potentially, and adjust the rear wing angle on these cars. More downforce, less straight line speed, but in these conditions, that's not so much of a drama.
Yeah, just looking out of our commentary box window, there's still plenty of spray when the cars were approaching turn 1. So I wouldn't say you'd be heading towards a slick anytime soon. A dry time is about a 1:08, and we're doing 1:17.9. So we're about 10 seconds away from what's an optimal dry time. And Jordan Love right on the back of Alex Peroni. Peroni had a great start, but he's just sort of dropped off a little bit as there's Brock Feeney trying to search for that extra bit of moisture on the track and cool those Pirelli wet weather tyres down. However, I fear that we might be getting some extra rain as Jamie Day goes a little bit wide at turn 1. Just probably lost a little bit of momentum on the back of Feeney, but he seems to be really strong in this sector as everyone now really using those curbs in the wet compared to what you'd see in the dry. So we've got Ojeda from Holdsworth, and Evans is only about 0.6 of a second back from that. Jordan Love in 8th. That's been a good recovery drive, only about half a second behind Peroni.
Now, these cars run both traction control and ABS, anti-lock brakes, but when you guys, the pro drivers behind the wheel, you're often dialing it right back because that's generally for you the quick way around the racetrack. But in these conditions, would you be tempted to wind them up a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. You'd want to have a little bit more ABS intervention, especially on a wet tyre, a wet track, and cold tyres as well. And that's something that the drivers will be playing with, I'd say, so far in the first 9 laps of this race. And not only that, but the TC, the traction control, that's something that you've got to balance as a driver. How much intervention do I want from the traction control? Because if you ask for too much, that's where it can get a bit challenging as a driver, trying to trust the traction control versus actually feeling the slip from the rear axles. So whatever Jaden Ojeda's got it set to, it's working beautifully for him, and the Mercedes is definitely the car that you want to be in right now in these conditions because he's got about a 2-second buffer, and we've seen the Audis just struggling a little bit as Jackson Evans is continuing to apply the pressure to Holdsworth.
It's interesting, on Friday in practice, was wandering up and down the garages, and everyone was saying if it's going to be a wet weekend, the car you want to be in is a Mercedes AMG. They're a really stable platform as Evans sweeps out from the toe of the Audi R8 of Lee Holdsworth and just has a little look up the inside at turn 6, but no move in the offing there at the moment. A lot of people saying the Merc was probably the car to have. Really stable, use the curbs a little bit more. They've got great traction, and they're a really good platform. And we've seen that in the past as well at the Bathurst 12 Hour, where when it's rained there, the AMG package has traditionally been quite strong. Jaden Ojeda's certainly living up to that. They're due a win too. It's been a while between drinks for the Realtor entry. They won the 3-hour race at Sydney Motorsport Park last year, but haven't won a sprint race in a long time in GT World Challenge Australia. 3 podium finishes so far this season, 2 seconds and a third, yet to win a race.
Yeah, I was speaking to Ojeda on the grid and he said, what do you reckon? What should we do? And I said, well, you probably want to do what everyone else is doing because you'd hate to be the only one out on a slick tyre, and he was leaving the slick tyres on as long as possible to keep the tyre temp in case they stayed, but ultimately everyone...
Evans was looking up the inside, and there's been a little bit of contact. Evans had to take to the curb on the inside. They're getting into turn 4, and that's dragged Brock Feeney in. Now, all of a sudden, as this track starts to dry out, the Kelso electrical car has come to life, and Feeney has set purple sector times, and now he's had a run on Evans, who in turn is having a run on Lee Holdsworth. This is the fight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th positions. 2 Audis and a Ferrari.
I'd be curious to know what tyre pressures everyone went out on, because whatever they've done on the Ojeda cars working, and that whether they maybe went a little bit too high on the tyre pressures in the Hallmark Audi, because Lee was really strong at the start of this one, and it could be a case of maybe Feeney's tyre pressures were lower. So that Audi, the 888 Audi, has sort of come alive now, and Jordan Love, who's back in 8th behind Peroni, he's not far off setting what looks like to be the fastest lap of the race. So as they cross the line, it's a 1:16.8, so about 0.7 of a second faster for Feeney than Jackson Evans. Feeney looking and searching for extra wet weather just to cool those tyres down, and Jordan Love a 17.4. So we've got Ojeda out in front with a 16.5 last time round. He's got a 4-second buffer. As I think that was Jamie Day, just had a moment down at turn 1, and that's allowed Ryan Wood to go through.
Same spot as yesterday, just 20 metres further up on the curb, so it didn't spin him off this time. So yeah, it has lost a position there, and Ryan Wood up to P5 in the Wolfbrook Racing Audi. Jordan Love has tacked onto the back of this 4-car freight train. So the Ferrari has caught the back of Alex Peroni, who's got a long way forward, started 14th position, has gone up to 7th place, but the further up the field you go, the harder it gets to pass, because the quality rises and rises with the depth of this GT World Challenge Australia field. So unless there's mistakes made, it's going to be very difficult for Alex Peroni to go any further forward until the pit stops happen. But they will have a shorter pit stop than some of the cars around them. And Mark Rosser, from the AM driver point of view, very, very capable and very, very fast. So they are going to be in decent shape in the back end of this one.
Well, Jada's in the box seat. They finished 4th yesterday, so they have no extra pit stop compensation time. 5 seconds up the road on Jackson Evans. They've got an extra 15 seconds to add to their time. There's the 88 Audi of Ryan Wood. They've got 10 seconds to add. The 888 of Feeney. So guys like Jamie Day and Mark Rosser that you spoke about, or Peroni, the 268 Audi, they're looking in good shape, as is Jordan Love as well.
Jackson Evans in front of Lee Holdsworth now for 2nd and 3rd place. So the Ferrari has been released from the Audis and immediately sets the fastest first sector of the race. So now he's in clean air. Jackson Evans has got serious pace, and he needs to minimise that race lead to Jaden Ojeda as quickly as he can to negate the extra pit stop time that he has to serve. If you're new to GT World Challenge Australia, if you win a race, the next race you have to serve an extra 15 seconds in the pit stop that you take midway through the race. Just a little success penalty. It's 10 seconds if you finish 2nd. It's 5 seconds if you finish 3rd. If you finish outside the podium, you don't have to serve any extra pit stop time.
I'm just looking outside our commentary box, Crazy, and it's starting to sprinkle once again. So that's going to make it challenging for those Pirelli wet tyres, because they've already had a fair bit of work the first 14 laps of the race. They're going to have to try and hang in there. And when this pit stop window opens, this is the question, isn't it? Are they going to change to slicks, or if it keeps raining, they'll have to keep those tyres on? So for the Dan Curry Mercedes, they're just doing a tyre pressure adjustment. But this Realtor Mercedes, the 66 car, which will be taken over by Paul Lucchidi, they're in the box seat because the car behind, they're going to have to stop for an extra 15 seconds. So effectively, they'll be 20 seconds further adrift if it stays like this. And Lee Holdsworth has now lost out to Brock Feeney, but Brock Feeney has an extra 5 seconds in the lane. So even if Lee stays where he is, he should be in a position to stay in front of these 2 cars once the pit sequence is completed.
So Feeney in front of Holdsworth now as well. So Lee was running 2nd, has dropped 2 spots as the rain starts to fall again at Sandown. So the pit stop window is open for the AM and Trophy class cars. They get first right to dive into pit lane for 5 minutes, and then the window opens. What you will find as well, when the pro driver's behind the wheel, you'll extend that stint as long as you can. Now, at some racetracks, it might only be a 2-lap window to get into pit lane, like the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. But here in a shorter lap, you might be able to get an extra 1, maybe 2 laps out of your pro before you pick to put the AM driver in for the back half of the race. The idea is keep your pro, the fastest driver in the car, for as long as possible, put you in the best possible place for your AM to bring it home. 4.2 seconds is the margin. This is Jamie Day leading Alex Peroni, leading Jordan Love, the West Aussie, whose brother Aaron has been doing great things in Trico Trans Am. Don't forget, you'll see their final race a little bit later on this afternoon here at Sandown. They've been putting on a great show. And into the lane comes the great Paul Stokell to hand over to Matt Stupas. Gives the signboard a nudge.
I think he's hit the board.
Yes, on his marks, maybe a little bit over, perhaps, because the board went flying.
Renee Gracie just leaving the pit lane, so she's completed her mandatory pit stop. We're just looking at, that was Jamie Day, who's running in 6th, Peroni 7th, and Jordan Love in 8th. Stubbsy?
Yeah, well, as we know, the pit window has just opened. Darren Curry is one of the first to jump out of the car. Darren, can you give us an update? Just what is it like out there for you guys at the moment?
Very tough out there. The track's obviously very, very slippery. A bit of a shame we didn't get any wet weather practice in as well, so it's a bit of an unknown for everyone out there at the moment. It's very tough.
And in terms of how quickly the track was drying, another shower's just gone through the wets. How long will they last? What are your thoughts?
Well, the track sort of seemed to start to get a little bit more grip, but going up the back, it started raining again. So it's just really difficult out there, really tricky. So hats off to everyone that's still out there. Really good job.
And in terms of yourself and Grant for the weekend and the season, how's it all tracking together for you?
Look, this weekend's been a big improvement for us. We've got the guys from Tagani. They're engineering our car for us now. A lot of change for us. So, yeah, just want to keep pushing forward and hopefully get a good result at the end of the day.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Chris Stubbs, great to hear from some of the AM class contenders in the field. They're putting on a great show this weekend. In pre-qualifying on Friday, the 4 AM class cars were covered by less than 1/10 of a second. It was ferociously close between the 4 of them as we race towards the pit stop, and you can often tell the pit stops are coming because the timing monitor lights up with colour as everyone presses on to try and get the absolute most out of it before you bail into pit lane. So the Pro-Am contenders can pit now, and this is where we start seeing the race play out. The question is, do you come in now or do you just go one more lap around?
Ryan Woods just made a mistake at the second last corner, just ran wide. Sorry to cut you off there, Crailsy, but not sure whether or not he gathered. I think he has managed to gather that up, but that was a bit of a mistake for Ryan Wood.
Well spotted. Little 1%er. Hasn't cost him an enormous amount of time. Clean those tyres off. So he dropped about a second off the back of Lee Holdsworth. Awesome drive yesterday by Woody. George King in the lane, so he's the first of the Pro-Am contenders to pit, sharing with Sergio Perez, the Sydney sider for Gaia Valmont Racing.
Now the other question is, if it was to keep raining, would you consider putting a fresh wet on or leave a hot wet that's done 17 laps? It's a tough call whether you change wets, go to a slick. It's a tough one, Crailsy. I wouldn't want to be in the bunker as we see. Is that Curry or is that Donaldson that's gone off there?
Donaldson, the 111 racing car, so just served their pit stop. So still getting up to speed. And even though they didn't change tyres, they let the pressures down, so the tyre pressure still needs to come up, and sitting in pit lane for as long as they do, some of the core temperature will disappear out of those tyres, so take them a little bit of time to bring up. Peroni looking racy here on the back of Jamie Day in the Valente Rosso Shannons Aston Martin. Ryan Wood goes around again. Pros continuing on. Ojeda once past the line again. So too Jackson Evans. Renee Gracie just letting the outright contender go through. She's just served her mandatory pit stop. She's running second in the AM class behind Shane Woodman in the Mercedes AMG. Actually, that could turn out to be a feisty little battle towards the end of the race. They should be reasonably evenly matched, those two contenders.
So Evans has got the gap down. It was at about 5 seconds, and he's got that gap down to just under 3.5 seconds now to our race leader, Ojeda. Ojeda flashing the lights. There must be some lap traffic in front. So that gap, 3.3 seconds. And then there's a further 4 seconds back to Brock Feeney. Lee Holdsworth in behind him, a further 2 seconds back. And then about 4 seconds behind that is Ryan Wood with Jamie Day, Peroni and Love, all in a little bit of a battle pack. So that's going to be pretty spicy when they all enter the pit lane. And I'd like to think they're all probably going to go into the same lap as well.
And the swings at the end of this are going to be pretty wild with the Pro-Am drivers all out there fighting for position at the end. And the pressure goes on to guys like Paul Lucchini, to Elliott Shute, who's sharing with Jackson Evans. And in they come to the lane. The window about to close, so they had to pit this lap. Lee Holdsworth is in. It's about to get busy in pit lane. Hit that 40k an hour mark. Really awkward pit entry here at Sandown, and not the widest pit lane in the sport either. So here's Paul, who will jump aboard the Realtor entry as Jaden Ojeda jumps out. Property developer who's only been racing for a couple of seasons, in fact, and climbed up the order very quickly to get into a Pro-Am class contender in GT World Challenge. Rusty?
Double stop activity happening at Arise Racing where I am, Crailsy. So already Elliott Shute just starting to get behind the wheel of the 26. Jackson Evans is already out. And it's, you know, you boys talk about the little 1%ers. There is a mat down here just beside the car that is designed to keep Elliott Shute's race boots as dry as possible before he jumped behind the wheel of the car. You don't want the sole to be slippery for when it's making contact with the brake and the accelerator and so on. So the Realtor Mercedes is already leaving the lane. It came in ahead of the Ferrari, so it's on its way out now. Adam de Boré keeping an eye on the clock. In the meantime, the sister Ferrari has come in, so Love is already out. Steve Wyatt, who didn't necessarily want to talk before, is jumping behind the wheel. Hallmark Audi coming past me now. So too is the Kelso electrical Audi, and The Shannons Aston Martin, now they release. Just getting ready to release the car of Elliott Shute. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. Busy time. Everyone comes out on top of each other. Lucchini is going to lead the race over Mark Sini in the Hallmark Property Group car. That's Renee Gracie going down the inside of Sini. She's chasing down Shane Woodman for the lead. Now, Peroni has just pitted right at the very end, I think, of the available window. He might have just snuck into the lane down at Team BRM. So he'll hand over to Mark Rosser. So he's going to be the last little roll of the dice. And there is the ACMF car getting some service. So again, bleeding tyre pressure. No one's put tyres on.
So he was in a battle with Ryan Wood and Jamie Day. And will that extra lap pay off to try and jump those guys? Because they've got no pit stop time that they need to do. So they'll just be the minimum time, as there's a bit of a battle already between Talbot and that Schumacher both going past Mark Sini. So already on this outlap, these guys are going at it. And Talbot really putting the pressure on Brad Schumacher. These guys have history.
They do. They've got a lot of it, and they've been two of the best AM drivers in domestic GT competition for a long time. You can just see Elliott Shute in behind them. So this is the critical rejoin. Paul Lucchini's gone through. He will be the net leader. These two boxing on, Schumacher and Talbot. Where does Mark Rosser emerge from pit lane? Well, the answer is he's jumped them both. So that is a massive win for Mark Rosser. He is going to be net second on the road. So the leaderboard with 21 minutes to go. Paul Lucchini will lead the race. His margin almost 10 seconds. Mark Rosser will be chasing him down. In third place, Brad Schumacher. In fourth, Liam Talbot. And fifth is Mark Sini. The scene is set for a shootout towards the end of this. And one of the quickest cars of the weekend, Elliott Shute. Thomas is in sixth position, 20 seconds now behind Paul Lucchini. So he's going to have to hustle if they want a double victory at Arise Racing this weekend.
Yeah, that was roughly the gap we were anticipating after you've got to add the 15 seconds extra pit stop time. But I'm keen to see what Mark Rosser can do in that 268 Audi. They've just had rotten luck so far this year. They did get a win up at Queensland Raceway, but there's been so many things not go their way. So watch out for this battle between Lucchini and Rosser. There's about 20 minutes remaining in this one, and Rosser has shown how quick he can be aboard that 268 Audi. The Team BRM, they do such a great job preparing that car, and they had a very tough day yesterday. Incident in qualifying meant they had to start last for both races, and then an off in the race yesterday for Mark Rosser, so he's out for redemption, Crailsy.
Now, lap time check. Paul Lucchini, 1 minute 21.7. Brad Schumacher, we'll ignore Rosser for the moment because he was on an outlap. Brad Schumacher, 1 minute 19.2. Considerably quicker, the Audi, than the Mercedes AMG last time around. But Paul has the advantage of an 11.2 second lead. So no pit stop penalty time, and that excellent opening stint, shortened by a couple of safety cars by Jaden Ojeda, has put the Tagani Autosport Realtor number 66 car in a really good position for this race.
Talbot showing a lot of speed in these conditions. We saw how strong he was at Phillip Island when it rained, getting that car up to second position. And he's about 0.6 of a second quicker than Brad Schumacher in that, or 0.4 of a second quicker than Schumacher in that first sector. Mark Rosser still just coming up to speed in the Audi. And we're not too far away to see what lap times these guys will be producing. There's Renee Gracie there as well. She's actually a lap down in front of these cars, so I would think that she would be probably getting some blue flags here.
She's only 2.4 seconds behind Shane Woodman for the lead in the AM class. So the Merc not too far up the road. There he is.
So lap time check. Paul Lucchini, a 1:22.2 across the line, a 1:20.4 for Mark Rosser, and then in the 19s, both Brad Schumacher and Talbot as Renee Gracie gets out of the way. So we have about 18.5 minutes remaining. Let's just say that's roughly at least maybe 12 or 13 laps, Crailsy. At that pace, you'd like to think they're going to catch the race leader if it stays this way.
Well, it's all going to compress. That's what's going to happen, and it's going to be excellent. Ross has been caught up behind Woodman and has been balked by the AM class car, and that's opened the door for Liam Talbot to have a run at Brad Schumacher. He said earlier he's been using the toe of the Audis, and it might have made them look a little bit more favourable. He needs to use it more. As Schumacher now looks up the inside of Mark Rosser at turn 6. There's no space there this time by. and Rosser holds on. And all this is music to the ears as Talbot goes down the inside of Schumacher. There's just an Aston Martin's width up the inside. He gets it. Spot done, car number 1, P3. The battle is on. This is all music to the ears of Paul Lucitti, who'd love for these guys to keep battling for the minors. Paul Lucitti leads the way in race 2, GT World Challenge Australia. His margin is 8.2 seconds, but there's a massive battle underway for 2nd, 3rd and 4th place between Mark Rosser, Liam Talbot and Brad Schumacher. Do you know who's catching them all? Yesterday's winner, Elliott Shute. He's in 5th place. We can go down to the pit lane and find Greg Rust.
Alex Peroni is literally biting the nails, Crailsy, watching Mark Rosser there and seeing the work being done by Liam Talbot there a moment ago. Firstly, how was your stint? What are the conditions like to cope with?
Shocking. It wasn't really that wet, but yeah, it's really slippery. Like we spoke about, the surface is quite weird. Yeah, we managed to do a good lap, good first lap, get up to P6, I think it was. And then, yeah, it was pretty hard to pass in the spray. But we just wanted to keep the gap with the front guys, which we managed to do. And, yeah, now Mark's in there, I think. Hopefully, I think he's catching Paul, so let's hope he can just consolidate it.
One final one before we let you go. You literally, I think the pass may have just happened, so we'll be able to watch that, you and I, as they come past here. But just quickly, you held out right to the very end of the window by the looks of things, did you?
Yeah, we wanted to make sure I maximise my driving time, which looks like it was the right decision. Yeah, it's going to be hard for Mark. He's never been here in the wet, but yeah, if we can get a podium, let's go. We'll see how we go.
I'll let you get back to it. Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Thanks, Rusty, with Alex Peroni, whose teammate Mark Rosser has just been passed by Liam Talbot as the rain falls again at Sandown, and now Schumacher's going to look down the inside. The Kelso Electrical Audi gets the spot, and Rosser, who was 2nd, now finds himself P4. Schumacher gaining ground. The lead margin now just 6.8 seconds. In fact, they can see the Realtor AMG. So the vibe I'm getting here, Thomas Randall, is that the wetter it is, the better the Aston Martin is, and Liam Talbot hustling the car towards the front. But as it dries out, perhaps it comes back to the pack. So those around Liam will be hoping for dry weather. Liam would love it to keep raining and use all of that experience as one of the most successful drivers in GT World Challenge Australia history, and a double champion looking to grab his first win aboard an Aston Martin.
I mean, this is just a baptism of fire for all the drivers out there, considering they get handed the vehicle midway through the race and say, hey, we're in a great position. You haven't driven in these conditions here. For guys like Mark Rosser, never having been here and in the wet, that is tough circumstances to be put into. I was just going to touch on Renee Gracie, got that move done on Shane Woodman, so she's now back up into the AM class lead. Stupas leading, well, the only trophy class car out there, leading, he's 9th overall, and Elliott Shute up into the top 5, so got past Brooks, and we've just seen a bad sportsmanship flag for car 111 come up on our screens, but just looking at the lap times. So last time by, Lucitti did a 1:21.6, Liam Talbot at 19.1. So 2.5 seconds fast from that last lap. The gap now down to just over 4 seconds, and it's looking even more wet now on our cameras, isn't it, Crailsy?
We're following Renee Gracie because she has passed Shane Woodman for the lead in the AM Class 2, by the way. So looking to win for the 7th time this season. Correction, 6th time. She had 5 race wins coming in to yesterday. First time she'd lost an AM Class race since the opening race of the GT World Challenge Australia Series at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Lucitti is being caught by Liam Talbot, but Brad Schumacher's got good speed in the Audi as well, and he is not letting the Aston Martin go. The quickest of them all last time by was Elliott Shute in the Ferrari, so the Arise racing car has got plenty of pace, but this is the battle for the lead brewing. Talbot hauling time out of Paul Lucitti. Aston Martin have never won a race in the current version of GT World Challenge Australia under this global format and the stewardship of SRO. So this could be a very, very big moment for a very, very big brand. Stubbsy.
Thank you. Yeah, just catching up here with the Arise Racing guys, and jump first to all with Jordan. He has a smile on his face. It's a bit of a wry smile, though, I think, isn't it, mates? We always say in motorsport it's tough to be the pioneer, and you found that today.
Yeah, look, obviously the start was all right, but yeah, just first time driving this car in the wet and coming off the bumps, just gave me a lot and didn't expect it. And round I went. So yeah, far from ideal, but we came back. The car's okay. Steve's in there now, chipping away. It's his second time here in the car on the wet. So yeah, he's chipping away, learning, and yeah, I think Jeff had a better start than what I did up the front. That's for sure.
Sum up your stint for us, Jackson.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's always difficult when your first lap's in the wet for the weekender and at the start of the race, you know. And I mean, I guess my fortune, J-Love's loss, I was able to follow him at the start and saw that, you know, he had a bit of a moment out of 3 and I could almost half expect it. So managed to get away with that and, you know, then started to work our way back through the guys that passed us at turn 1 and felt like the car was quite good. So a lot of fun out there. It's not an easy track for us with the curves and things like that, but in the wet we kind of got away with it a bit more. So you know, Elliot's doing a great job and hopefully we're fighting towards the back end of the podium.
Well, that's it in 4th position at the moment. There's still plenty of time. A podium is certainly within reach, you'd think, looking at the times he's doing.
Yeah, look, I think it's certainly within reach. He's doing a great job. You know, but say for him, not a lot of wet laps in this car, so he's learning every lap. So we'll keep giving him some motivation from the pit wall here, and hopefully he can get it done.
Boys, thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Tubbsy. And while we were hearing from those two fine gentlemen down there in their Rise Racing camp, we've had a lead change. So Liam Talbot is your new race leader. The Shannons, Valente Rosso, Aston Martin, Brad Schumacher chasing him. He also got past Paul Lucitti, who's 3rd. And that podium hope now for a Rise Racing. Elliot Shute has got past Mark Rosser, who has no pace in these conditions at the moment in the ACMF Team BRM Audi. So Shute is chasing down Lucitti potentially to get 3rd place. And that would be a big moment from a championship point of view to minimise a potential gain for Schumacher and Brock Feeney, who are currently 2nd in the GT World Challenge standings. Just over 10 minutes to go. This one, you feel, still has a little bit to play out. Can Brad Schumacher challenge Liam Talbot for the win? Or can Talbot get his first victory of his title defence season and the first for an Aston Martin in the category?
Liam Talbot just loves these conditions, doesn't he? He was praying for rain before the start of this one, and as we've touched on before, he was so strong at Phillip Island when it started to rain in the last 10 minutes of the race, and they were all on slick tyres. Then now we're on wets, albeit very hot wets, because they have done 28 laps of this race, and the rain is continuing to fall. He's got about a 1.8 second lead over Brad Schumacher. However, he hasn't had a very strong first sector here. He's just lost about a second to Brad Schumacher in this first sector. So whether or not he's just made a small mistake, Brad Schumacher very much keeping him honest. And if we just have a look further down, Elliot Shute now is within 9 seconds of Paul Lucitti. We've still got 9.5 minutes remaining in this one.
Liam Talbot has 11 GT World Challenge Australia victories to his credit. Brad Schumacher 5. They are by far and away 2 of the most credentialed AM drivers in the nation in GT3 machinery. Both have an enviable track record. Liam Talbot is a double champ. Brad Schumacher as someone who's come up through the classes. He won the trophy class, then he won the AM class, and now he's fighting for the outright championship and looking to chase down a Rise Racing in, after this, the remaining 2 rounds of GT World Challenge Australia. We're off to the Bend next in South Australia, which is a great GT circuit, almost as if designed by guys who race GT cars, Thomas. And then to Hampton Downs in New Zealand, in the Waikato. Really looking forward to that at the end of the season, to take this championship across the ditch, say good day to our Kiwi mates, some of whom are already in the field, and then go racing.
Yeah, but Kiwis don't mind these conditions, do they?
No, it'll be good.
So there's our AM class leader, Renee Gracie, in the OnlyFans Audi. She's been doing a cracking job in these conditions, followed by Woodman, who's a further 10 seconds back. And then it's Donaldson and unfortunately Kundouris out with that incident. Rusty?
Crowd that have gathered here at Melbourne Performance are all transfixed on the screens. Firstly, I thought we'd catch up with Lee Holdsworth. How was your stint? You look like you gave it heaps, mate. Nice work.
Thanks, Rusty. No, it was fun. Tricky conditions out there. Yeah, really tough into a couple of the braking zones where the car just wants to fire off straight ahead, and then others it'll pull up well. Yeah, changing conditions all the time. Oh, yeah, no, that's not good.
That's not good, mate. We'll leave you to that. We'll go back to the commentary team. Come back for more in a moment.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. That's all good timing, isn't it? Mark Seeney's found the fence at turn 4, entry 2. And that Armco, the same place that Theo Kundouris, the guy that Mark's been racing for about 30 years. in various categories. It's the same place he hit at the very start of this race. The question is, can Mark grab reverse and get that car out, or do we go safety car at the end of this, which would be a fair old turn up for the books with 7.5 minutes to go in this one.
Yeah, it was fairly light contact, really, wasn't it? Just awkward. As soon as he hit the wall, it just parked up. And I think he's trying to get this thing out of there. So I would say race controller just waiting, and yep, there we go. So just got to be careful not to look out for. That's going to be awkward between Shoot and Seaney, and they get away with it. So I'd say we'll stay under green here. So great work for Seaney to get that thing out, but that's just dropped them right to the bottom of the Pro-Am class. Now back to our race leader, Liam Talbot. And Brad Schumacher really keeping him honest, isn't he? It's sort of within 1.5 seconds there.
Sort of yo-yoing every lap. And I think some of it dependent on traffic too, and who gets the traffic where. The car in second can close up, and then Talbot clears them, and Schumacher has to deal with it. The other evolving storyline is that Elliott Shute is taking gobfuls of time out of Paul Lucchini for 3rd and 4th place. So it was 15 seconds. It's now 7.5. And that's to get the Arise Racing Ferrari onto the podium. The way the rules work in GT World Challenge globally, this is a global formula and the same regulations used in all of the global categories. It's really difficult to back up a Saturday win with a Sunday one. Essentially, with the extra pit stop time you have to serve. So if you can back up a win on Saturday with a podium on Sunday, that's a huge result, especially when you're playing for a championship like Elliott Shute and Jackson Evans are.
Or you do what Elliott Shute and Evans did at SMP.
Well, win them both, which is so rare.
Yeah, and just looking at our live pictures here, how much wetter it has gotten out there for all the drivers. I was just seeing the spray off the cars out of turn 1 and the run down to turn 2. So it is just, the conditions have just worsened over the last couple of laps, haven't they?
Beverly will put a full stop on. Steve Brooks has got past Mark Rosser, P5. Again, Constantina's down there. Schumacher at Dandenong Road gets a little bit closer, almost within tasting distance of that rear diffuser of the Aston Martin, isn't it? So Brooks and Ryan Wood up to 5th place. Took a little bit, it felt, for the Wolfbrook car to get up to speed in these conditions after the stop, but he's performing well and is only 4 seconds behind Elliott Shute, Steve Brooks. So he might have some ambitions on grabbing Lucchini by the end of this one too. There is Elliott Shute, there is the Wolfbrook car.
So last time by, Brad Schumacher was 7/10 of a second faster. The gap now is under 0.8 of a second. And whether or not Talbot just took maybe too much energy out of the wet tyre early on, and that gap now well and truly under a second for the outright race lead between Talbot and Shute.
And you and I both know Brad Schumacher well. If there's an opportunity for him to have a go, he will have a go. And Liam Talbot will make it incredibly difficult to get past the Aston Martin in increasingly heavy rain. And it's got to the point now where the mist is just starting to hang within the walls of the racetrack. Very street circuit like this place, and the mist sort of hovering around Sandown International Raceway. 1.1 seconds. Schumacher nibbling away at the back of the Aston Martin. This has been the perfect drive from Talbot, though. Everything that's made him a champion over the last couple of seasons continues to deliver. One in a Ferrari, one in an Audi, looking to do the same in an Aston Martin.
And Schumacher really just being a pest, isn't he, on Talbot, because the gap to 3rd is 17 seconds back. There's Brock Feeney watching on very closely, and it seems like the Triple 8 Audi's just been a bit stronger in this stint, hasn't it? So that Volante Rosso Aston Martin has just come alive in these conditions, and the gap now, sort of like you touched on, has just yo-yoed back out to 1.5 seconds. And Elliott Shute now within striking distance, 3 seconds behind Paul Lucchini. And look at the rain, you can just see it falling really heavily now, and all the spray that's coming off those cars. The poor wet tyres, they've done over 33 laps so far. I don't think they'll be reusing them at the end of this one.
Shute's going to get to Lucchini, and it's going to happen right at the end of this with 3 minutes to go. Oh, around goes Brooks on the exit of turn 3, all on his own. You just have to wait and give way for Renee Gracie and Mark Rosser. So all that hard work, he was catching Elliott Shute at the same time. So as this increasingly worse conditions hit Sandown Raceway, the puddle builds on the inside there as well at that curb at 3. So he's just looped the Wolfbrook Audi R8 around.
Yeah, I think just like you said, the worsening conditions have just caught him out there. So
he was going to follow Shoot to the back of Paul Lucchini. 2.4 seconds now in the fight for third. 1.3 for the leaders as they tick another lap of Sandown off. Aston Martin in front, Audi in second, Mercedes AMG in third place, and Ferrari in fourth. 4 different brands in the top 4 positions in this final race for GT World Challenge. Only 2 rounds and 4 races to go in the championship. What a season it's been. Oh, wow, Talbot. Interesting line coming out of there. Seemed to struggle to get the power down out of turn 4, but if anything, just edges away from Brad Schumacher.
Can't even see he's struggling to see the cars now with all the spray. Talbot taking a lot of curb at turn 4, really trying to narrow it off turn 4 because there actually is a bit more grip on the inside with there's so many different surface changes. I mean, we've been talking about that across the last 2 days here at Sandown. This racetrack opening in 1962, and I swear there's probably some bits of track surface out there that feel like they're 63 years old. So just looking at the gap between Lucchini and Shoot, that's down to 1.1 seconds. We've got a minute and a half remaining, so we'll probably get this lap, maybe 2 more. We'll just have to wait and see. And this is the battle for the final place on the podium between Lucchini and Elliott Shoot.
It's been a really good drive from Paul Lucchini, who's only been a recent starter in this level of GT racing. Started competing in 2022 and 2023 and then built up to be a contender in the Pro-Am ranks last year with that man, Jaden Ojeda. They call him the Juice. He's one of the best young drivers in the nation, and he's been tapped by the Mercedes AMG driver program as well, so he's been racing internationally. He's got supercars on his horizon too. Battle for the lead remains as it is. This is for third position, a spot on the podium potentially. Elliott Shoot just had a little look down the inside there of the Realtor AMG. It feels inevitable at the moment. The Ferrari has the pace advantage. He was 2 seconds quicker last time by. Does it come at turn 4? Lucchini holds on. Jackson Evans watching on, looking for a couple of trophies in a big weekend that will see them extend their championship lead going into the penultimate round at the Bend.
Yeah, those wet tyres really protesting the power down, weren't they? They've done a lot of work so far, and I feel like his best spot, Crailsey, will be either turn 1 or up here into turn 9, Dandenong Road. So going through turn number 6 over the top, as we call it as a driver, and just can't quite get it done here. I reckon, yeah, his best port of call will be probably turn 1. So the clock's just counting up now, but I think Talbot might have got through there. So it'll either be this lap plus 1 more.
We'll confirm that for you. It's when the clock counts to 0, you get 1 more lap after that. The question is, when did Liam Talbot get to the line? Lucchini continues to hold on. Great defensive drive so far. Shoot, young West Australian, a graduate out of One Make Radical competition. Another driver who didn't progress through the junior pathway. He gets the nose down the inside at turn 1. Lucchini will sweep across. Shoot went deep, but he should be good enough here to hold on to the spot. And third position changes hands within sight of the checkers. And the Ferrari backs up the race 1 win by getting onto the podium. And a round of applause from Arise Racing watching on from the lane.
So that's a very nice move from Elliott Shoot. Got so much confidence in these conditions, and that, as it stands, is going to be another podium finish for them. And this has really tightened up, hasn't it? So we believe that we'll get 1 more lap of race. We're about to find out.
Schumacher locked up behind the Valente Rosso Aston Martin. Liam Talbot has driven superbly today. There will be 1 lap remaining. 3.2 kilometres. Will it be Liam Talbot? Will it be Brad Schumacher? Aston Martin or Audi? All bets are off.
And we know how much Brad Schumacher wants this win. And Talbot getting a bit of curve there at turn 1. Probably didn't want to get it as Schumacher thinks about it. That's not going to work. Down into turn 2. Talbot goes wide there. And
Schumacher.
Up the inside goes Schumacher.
Oh, they punch each other into the wall, slowing each other up. It's not touring car racing, top-level GT racing. You don't see that often. Big contact between the 2 of them. Schumacher had the lunge. The door was shut firmly. Talbot holds on. There'll be a big discussion of that Upstairs in Motorsport Australia Race Control, Craig Baird, the driver standards chief for this category, as he is with supercars, will be assessing that. In the meantime, Liam Talbot under control for Valente Rosso and Aston Martin. Jamie Day, the Brit, had a moment yesterday and fired the car off the road. He redeemed himself today with an outstanding drive to position this car well and hand it over to the champion Liam Talbot, who is going to get to the checkered flag and record Aston Martin and Valente Rosso's first victory in GT World Challenge Australia. Talbot and Day win race 2 in a dramatic conclusion to the GT World Challenge Australia race. Elliott Shute raced his way. He took 15 seconds out to the Realtor AMG, and he will help himself and Jackson Evans to a double podium in a big weekend for the championship leaders, who go to the Bend in September knowing that they can score nothing in the opening race and still lead the championship. That's a very big drive from Elliott.
It is indeed, and what a cracking result from them. I'll tell you what, that was on for young and old, wasn't it, at turn 4? And like you said, Crailsy, how are Motorsport Australia going to judge that? Was he left enough room on the inside? That'll be the question. That's what Brad Schumacher will be arguing. There wasn't racing room given.
Oh, there'll be an argument, all right. Renee Gracie crosses the line in the OnlyFans Audi to claim the AM class victory. A good comeback after the drive yesterday to victory there. Grant Donaldson in 111 across the line in second. Shane Woodman third in the AM class. Matt Stupas 8th outright with Paul Stokel. That's a huge drive from those guys in the KFC Trophy class Audi R8. And there's Stephen Wyatt. He's going to finish 7th. Pretty productive weekend for he and Jordan Love. After that little moment you heard from Jordan, was just ruining the lack of grip and inexperience driving that car in the wet conditions in turn 2. Deep breath. Wowee, what a finish to that one. Liam Talbot and Brad Schumacher trading paint at turn 4 on the final lap, and in the end, provisionally, it's the Aston Martin on top. The first win for an Aston, Liam's first win since last season when he was driving a Ferrari, and a huge result for Valente Rosso. Jackson Evans and Elliott Shute finished 3rd. Jaden Ojeda and Paul Lucitti led early. They finished 4th. Solid points for the team, 3rd in the championship. Peroni and Rosser next in 5th. Ryan Wood and Steve Brooks 6th. Love and Wyatt and Stokel and Stupas trophy winners. In 10th position, you'll find Renee Gracie, who won the AM class to extend her championship lead over Darren Curry and Grant Donaldson. Shoots and Woodman were 12th. Holdsworth and Sini, so that spin from Mark Sini was really costly in the end, unfortunately. Ends up 13th. Highlights of the GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. A delayed start to allow teams to put Pirelli wet weather tyres on their cars, sort of reset the pecking order, and then on the opening lap, Jordan Love, a rare unforced error, spins the Arise Racing Ferrari into the fence. Then moments later, Theo Konduras did the same with heavier results. That put out the BMW M safety car. And then it was treacherous as teams looked to keep temperature. For a moment, it looked like this racetrack was going to dry. It was busy. Jamie Day was making moves in the Aston, hip and shouldering himself up the order. Paul Stokel was bumping into the stop zone there in pit lane. And then this was the pit stop sequence. It delivered these guys P2 for just a little while.
It did. Peroni did an extra lap there just to try and gain some track position, which worked temporarily, but Mark Rosser just not having the pace or the confidence to put that 268 Audi further up the grid, and that was the move for the race lead. Talbot on Lucitti, and that was Mark Sini half going around at turn 4, managed to back that thing out and keep going, and then we saw Brooksy have a bit of a spin there at turn 4. Turn 3 was the action zone, which we would see on the final lap between the leaders, and down the inside was Brad Schumacher. Now, the question will be with Motorsport Australia Race Control, was he far enough up? Was he squeezed to the wall? But in the end, it was Liam Talbot who crossed the line first.
Just a second in it between he and Brad Schumacher, and regardless of how this rumbles on afterwards, a fine drive by the double champ, Liam Talbot. Stubbsy?
Thank you, Richard Crail. Huge celebrations down here, not just because it was his birthday yesterday, but a first win for the season, a first win here with the Aston Martin in this combination. Congratulations, Liam, that's wild.
Thank you. Car felt great. I mean, Jamie did a good job at the start, and
Yeah, I mean, the car was lit. It was so much fun in the rain, and yeah, I was hoping for rain, so it's nice to have a wet race.
Turn 4, Brad Schumacher, last lap. You guys putting on a show. Talk us through the bit of contact.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit cautious through there. I didn't know it was the last lap, and yeah, I mean, he's been ambitious yesterday, and today was no different.
You've got the winner podium to come go and celebrate.
You.
Jamie, well done to you as well. A fantastic effort across the weekend. You must be stoked.
Yeah, exactly. Very stoked, especially after yesterday's result, just making a few mistakes myself. And like I said to you, the team worked so hard last night to get a result like this. It pays it back to them to really.
Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Our GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS, our outright winners there. Congratulations. That brings us down to the guys who won in our trophy class today. Matt Stupas, I'll start with you. You've just jumped out of the car and finished off what was a pretty wild race in tough conditions. Well done.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, the car felt great. The track was greasy as hell at some ends, like turn 2, 3 and 4. Every time we went through, because it started sprinkling, not sprinkling. You were really unsure to what to expect when you're going in there. Over the top was okay. So, no, we're wrapped. I mean, it was good. We were I think we were sort of the 5th fastest car out there, which is nice to be that for an old man. Team old men, we're okay.
Well done to you and Paul Stogel as well. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And bouncing down as well. Where'd Renee Gracie? Where'd she go? Renee's gone. All right, we'll catch her on the other side of a quick break. We've also got some First Focus Radicals Cup racing to go. The action still to continue right here at Sandown on the Shannons Speed Series.